market. It's still available if you guys want to get the recording. I think you guys liked it. I got a good sense that we hit the nail on the head, and we took some digital field trips. We went to E-Trade and we went to Robinhood, and we went in and we bought some stock, and we talked through how the stock market works. And I hope that you also, it was made very clear that to invest in the stock market, you only have to be as smart as a monkey. And I know that we don't have any monkeys in this class, and so you could bring your pet monkey if you have one, but really, we all know that, and if you know, and that's kind of an inside joke. If you were there, you get the joke for sure. And it has to do with an experiment by Burton Malkiel in his book A Random Walk Down Wall Street, where he taught a monkey how to invest. So that's why I asked everyone, "Are you as smart as a monkey?" And if the answer is yes, then you can invest in the stock market because experiments have been done where monkeys were trained to invest, and the monkeys actually made more money than people who did not invest in the stock market. It sounds crazy when I say it. People don't believe it, but look it up. Burton Malkiel, 1971. It was to confirm a really important financial theory called the random walk hypothesis. And the random walk hypothesis basically says that you really can't predict stocks the way you think you can. And the best thing you can do is just kind of just be consistent and do things like the $5 a day investing plan. And that will lead you right down the pathway to wealth. So the yellow brick road is clear. It is abundant. It is right in front of our face. And all we got to do is follow the yellow brick road and remain consistent, and your family will have generational wealth. It's not hard. The racial wealth gap is not hard. It is not a mystery. It is not a problem that we're seeking to solve in the Black Business School. We've already solved the problem. The challenge is the implementation. The challenge is really getting us to shift our habits. The challenge is dealing with a lot of cultural practices that are just unhealthy, that we know are unhealthy. It's almost like telling an obese person how to exercise or how to lose weight. They know what to do. They know, that what they're eating has to change. They know that maybe going to the gym twice a week, 3 times a week will make a difference. But if your habits are telling you to do something different, then it's hard to change that. So our habits betray us, and this is one of the reasons why we started financial consciousness training. Is because I don't want your habits to create a prison for you, right? I don't want your master to be just the subconscious mind and all this programming. You got to break out of that, right? So that's the goal. That's why we do financial consciousness training. That's why I sit and talk to you about it every single day, every single morning, because we're forming a new habit. This is a habit. A lot of you come in here every day because it's a habit now. It's a habit. I'd love to get up early in the morning. At first, it was hard. At first, I would get up and I'd say, "Oh my God, what did I sign myself up for? I got to do this every day, 7 days a week." Boys, your mouth don't wrote a check that your butt can't cash. But then I'm like, "Oh man, I'm excited now." Like every day I get up and I'm ready to go. And it starts the day off properly, starts the day off right. I went running this morning. I didn't run. I wanted to run 3 or 4 miles, but I ran two. Don't judge me. I was getting back on my habit because I'd spent a couple days just being lazy. So all of us fall off the wagon sometimes, but you got to get right back on and get focused. Now, okay. All right, so woo, buddy. How many of y'all heard about that judge in Atlanta? Uh, did anybody hear about that judge in Atlanta who was shamed, kind of shamed and removed from the bench this past week? This is this was interesting. My wife and I took some interest in this. I don't know because it was an interesting story, and so her first name was Christina. I got to look up her last name here, but this judge in Atlanta kind of had an incident that was a little embarrassing for her. She was, from what I understand, removed from the bench. I don't know where the fight stands right now. I don't know if she is coming back anytime soon. I don't know if she's able to kind of overcome this. In fact, I'm going to look this up as I talk about this. And the reason I bring this up is because there's kind of a little bit of a financial consciousness lesson connected to this, right? And here's the thing: I am not here to make fun of this judge. Christina Peterson, that was her name. I'm not here to dance on her professional grave if that's what it ends up becoming. I'm not here to rub it in. I just don't want to do it. I'm not here to gossip about her or anything like that at all. Okay, so I want to make that clear. Yeah, her name was Christina Peterson, and she was hit with about, I think, 30 charges of judicial misconduct. And so according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, in this article that was written, I guess maybe a day or two ago, June 25th. Today's June 26th. So this article was written yesterday. And it says that a Metro Atlanta judge was arrested outside a Buckhead nightclub for allegedly hitting a police officer Okay, so I'm taking notes here, and because I got things I want to say, but I don't want my ADHD to kick in just yet. But although my ADHD is my superpower, but I don't. Sometimes Superman needs to keep his Clark Kent clothes on for a minute. I'm kidding. All right, but anyway, I have so many thoughts that are going through my head, so I'm gonna ease myself into this. Okay, so Douglas County probate judge Christina Peterson, 38, has been fighting judicial misconduct allegations since she was elected to the bench in an uncontested November 2020 election in late March. So she is a judge. She was elected. Looks like it was uncontested, but still, congratulations. The Georgia Supreme Court decided Tuesday that Peterson's removal from the bench is warranted, saying some of her conduct, quote, portrays to the public an image of a judge who believes she is above the law. Okay, so let me. That was a goofy State Farm commercial that popped up. So let me read another site that um, isn't going to like charge me money to read the article. Because it looks like they have a subscription. Okay, so it says here that also on another page, Fox 5 Atlanta, the Judicial Qualifications Commission decided in April that Peterson was guilty of quote systemic incompetence because she ignored courthouse rules, abused courthouse personnel, made inappropriate posts on social media, and in repeated cases failed to do her job. Their decision was made after 4 separate hearings on 30 ethics charges where Peterson had a chance to testify and confront her accusers. Let's see. She released a statement. She says, as a trial lawyer, you never like to lose a case. I will let my client speak to the substance of the charges because it is and has been her case. So I guess this is her lawyer speaking. Procedurally, I'm pleased that we were able to provide her with a vigorous defense in court, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And then the county administrator, Dr. David Corbin, released a statement. He says, today, the Georgia Supreme Court issued an opinion ordering the removal of Douglas County probate court judge Christina Peterson from office effective immediately. We understand this action raises concerns about Douglas County probate court operations. While those services fall under the purview of the chief judge of Superior Court until such time as a new judge is appointed. Okay, blah 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 blah. Okay, so basically, see, so it looks to me like there was like this incident. I saw this video where it looked like maybe she was out at night at a club. I saw her in the back of a police car, kind of being, having a contentious episode with the officer for whatever reason. I know, and again, I don't know exactly what happened. All I know is that I remember seeing her in the police car. I saw her kind of looking a little disheveled, not quite like you would expect a judge to look. And there's just kind of like a set of stories that go with it, right? And again, we know white folks act a fool too. We know white people get drunk and do things. And I'm not saying she was drunk. I have no idea what was going on here. But I really thought about this more so from an economic consciousness standpoint, in terms of kind of sort of processing this from a professional perspective. Now, before I give my 2 cents on it, I want to ask you all, based on this whole situation, based on the fact that she looked like she could have been under the influence, I'm not going to say that for sure. Also, based on the fact that she was charged with assaulting the police officer, had these 30 charges dropped on her. Do you think that that was inappropriate, or do you think that there is a deeper explanation? Like, is there something? Do you think that it was maybe justified, or do you think that there was something deeper? Maybe it's a conspiracy, that someone was trying to get her, or do you think that she messed up, made a mistake? Like, what do you guys think? I'd like to get your opinion. Okay, so I see completely inappropriate. Deeper, I need more facts, says Katrina. There needs to be an investigation. Okay, it was inappropriate, says Julia. Both a deeper explanation. Okay, all right. So I'm trying to set this up properly because I want to make sure that I'm fair in terms of how we process this. And I promise you there is an economic angle to this. I just want to make sure we lay out the framework. Okay, so let me just try to look up a little more information as we're kind of talking about this. So it looks like the things that we do know for sure is that she was arrested at a nightclub, and the video she didn't look very judgely in the video. I'm just going to say that. Let's see here. Also, It says Peterson had already been facing ethics charges brought against her by the Judicial Qualifications Commission in 2022. They ruled that Peterson should be removed from the bench. What else? In conclusion, in light of her multiple violations of CJC rules in relation to several matters, some of them reflecting a flagrant disregard for the law, court rules, and judicial conduct rules, the pattern of violations that the director proved by clear and convincing evidence, the extremely concerning nature of some of those violations, etc. Okay, they keep going and they explain that. And then let's see here. I'm looking to see, they said they mentioned some stuff about social media. I don't know much about that. I have to see that. And there's not much else there, right? So I think that at the very least, my first concern would be I don't feel like I'm getting the whole story, right? I really would love to hear the whole story, what was going on, what happened. Because sometimes you can get caught in a situation. Situations can occur. Now, here's the other interesting side of it, though. From a financial consciousness standpoint, what I would say is the things that stood out to me. Like it starts with a story. Okay, so let me tell you a story. About 14 years ago, I used to write a lot of articles for AOL Black Voices. I used to work for them for free at first, and then eventually they started paying me. And just a little tip, if you're trying to get out there and trying to get stuff done, trying to build a business or whatever, you got to do a lot of stuff for free most of the time. And I never thought of it as free labor, because I never thought of myself as a laborer. I was a businessman, so I made an investment. And if you don't invest in yourself, then why would you expect anybody else to? So I worked for them for free for a while, and I wrote probably hundreds of articles for them for nothing. And that separated me from the pack. Everybody else needed a paycheck. I didn't want a paycheck. I said, building my brand, getting my name out there is a paycheck enough. So that's a lesson on economic consciousness that I encourage you to embrace, because I run into a lot of people who can't spot an opportunity unless it comes with a paycheck attached. Okay, so that's the first thing. Not to judge, but just to give you a little tip. All right. So anyway, I was writing articles for AOL Black Voices, and I remember that I got this email, or here was the story, and then I got an email about this. So there was an attorney in New Jersey. I do not remember her name. She was a young lawyer in probably like late 20s. She had a rough day. Something happened that day. I don't know what was going on, and she decided to go out and get drunk. And she got so drunk that she just, a whole nother side of her personality came out. She had a confrontation with a police officer. Lots of crazy profanity, like, I'll give you half the sentence and you can fill in the blank if you want. It was like, you can eat my blah, 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 right? You fill in the blank. I'm not trying to be all nasty in the morning. And all this was recorded. All this was documented. I don't know if they had video, but I know that the way it was written, it was just terrible, absolutely terrible. And we had to cover the article. I forgot why. The editor told me what to do. Her name was Abba or something, and she would just send me stuff and say, "Hey, we got to put this in." I'm like, "Okay." I did. I people don't understand. I'm the boss of my business, but I have no problem being the worker bee. Like if I'm on your team and you were paying me or hiring me to do something, I will humble myself. Whatever you need, boss, I got you. So I because to get a favor, you got to give a favor, right? To be a good colleague or receive good colleagues, you got to be one. So my goal was to support in any way I could. So I wrote the article up, and I remember just thinking, gosh, this is so sad. Like, what was going on with this lady? And so anyway, we put it out, and I remember that we got this email from her, and it was a very desperate, like sad, like she was really desperate. And she said, please, please take this down. Please take this article down, because I have a good reputation. I'm a good lawyer. I'm very professional, and I just had a bad day. And I remember feeling really bad for her. And I remember asking the editor, I was like, can we take this down? Because it sounds like she just kind of had an off day and whatever. And I think we did. I don't remember the whole details exactly what happened, but I remember thinking about this. And I'm gonna get on. I got a little tiny soapbox over here. I'm gonna stand on it for a minute. I hope that is that all right. Can I stand on the soapbox? Do I have permission to get just like a little bit, almost sound a little bit preachy? Is that okay? I hope that's all right. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna give a mini sermon real quick, and just kind of, like, without sounding too much like an arrogant prick, I'm gonna try to just share something with you that I hope will help somebody. Um, when I read this story about this young lady who ruined her reputation irreversibly, the first thing that came to my mind was, I said, thank God I never chose to drink alcohol. Like, I remember just thinking, that's why I don't drink. That's why I don't follow the culture. I've never followed the culture, because when I was 19 years old, I would see my friends who had a great future in front of them, good people who were just following the crowd, following the culture. Like, we're gonna go to the club, y'all. We're gonna go to the step show, y'all. We're gonna do this and do that, or we're gonna do what the other Q dogs are doing, y'all. Whatever it was. No disrespect to Q dogs, but y'all came to mind because we had some crazy Qs on my campus. I love the Qs, but I love the Omega men, the Q dogs. I was like, man, y'all humping each other on stage. That's kind of weird to me. I'm not doing any of that. But so you gotta stop. Don't be letting nobody hump on you, man. Come on, unless you like it. If you like it, I'm not judging. All right. Anyway, I'm kidding. See, now my Q friends gonna get mad at me. All right. So anyway, but I remember just kind of seeing this stuff and saying, this is gonna be bad. This is going to be bad. I know a man who just got out of prison after 30 years because he went to a club, got into an argument. A guy put out a gun. He pulled out his gun faster. He kills the guy. He gets charged with murder. He doesn't get to watch his child grow up. And this is traumatizing. This was the trauma that I kind of learned from that created my life experience as a young black man when you're seeing just guys dropping like flies going to the penitentiary because of one mistake made in one moment. And the most horrific thing ever done the worst rope-a-dope ever done to the mind of a black man is when they started promoting music that would encourage you to throw your life away. Like, they got guys excited about going out and killing somebody so they can go and be somebody's girlfriend in a penitentiary for 20 years. I don't understand that. If that's not mind control, I don't know what is. When you're convincing young people to throw their lives away, I don't get it. And the thing is that alcohol is dangerous for men and women. Did y'all know that there's a study that says that alcohol is the most dangerous drug on earth? There's a study I saw. There's studies and I was like, wow, it's not crack, it's not heroin, it's not, some new drug that we never heard of. It's alcohol. Why would it be alcohol? Well, because alcohol is a Trojan horse on society. It's the Trojan horse. It's no different from hip hop. See, the best way to give you the poison is to not put the word poison on the label. If they say, here's a bottle of poison, you want some? You're not going to drink poison if it says poison on the label. The only way they can get you to drink poison is if they say, no, this ain't poison. This is Kool-Aid. It's strawberry Kool-Aid. And they give you the Kool-Aid and then they drop the poison in the Kool-Aid. That's how they get you. That's what they do. So alcohol is a Trojan horse because it's incredibly dangerous. It causes untold amounts of destruction and chaos and people ruining their lives and their careers and everything else. But everybody thinks it's safe. Everybody kind of, when I would go places and I would get offered alcohol and I would say, no, thank you, I don't drink. I would hear people say, well, why don't you drink? And I'm like, well, why should I drink? Like, I don't know. Like, if you ask me, like, why don't you breathe? Then that makes more sense because I have to breathe. Breathing's important. Or why don't you read? I get that. But if you say, why don't you drink? I'm like, well, what would ever make me, what makes me start? It's nasty. If you don't drink, and I don't know if anybody doesn't drink. If you don't drink alcohol, and the first time you taste it, it's nasty. It's so nasty. So you have to work to acquire a taste. And I was like, I don't want to work to get to the point where I can get used to drinking something that's nasty. No disrespect to anybody that drinks. My wife drinks, and it's okay. I do not judge her. I do not give her a hard time. I just say, hey, babe, I'm gonna be the designated driver, so you and all your friends can do what y'all gonna do. But Boyce is sitting right here on this perch. Boyce knows who he needs to be. Boyce knows who he is. You cannot persuade me off of that perch. Do you understand? And so when I look at what happened to this poor judge, I could not help but to get the impression that alcohol might have been involved. I also thought about this whole idea of like, I'm hanging out in the club. Now, she's from Atlanta. Nightclub culture is strong. Stripper club culture is very strong. I did go to a strip club one time because it was a bachelor party and I had to go everywhere that the groom was going. You protect the groom. That's what you do. So you got to almost be like a little bodyguard. So I was following him around everywhere. And it was interesting. Strippers are so athletic. First off, that was what was interesting to me. You would think strippers just take it off and just do a little dance. No, these women were like athletes. One of them had real strong legs. I said, you have strong legs. Did you do gymnastics in high school? She said, yeah, I used to do gymnastics. And then the idea of this person that you just met standing next to you naked was like really interesting. I was like, well, I don't even know this lady and she ain't got no clothes on. That's so crazy to me. Because I'm old school. I came from an age where you had to work to get a woman to take her clothes off. You had to earn that. That was a reward. Now it's like, now, they done flooded the market. Like all the stuff that used to be valuable in 1995 is everywhere, and it's just too much. It's too much. So we got to stop all that stuff. But anyway, but the point of the matter is to say that, we know that culture is big. We know that you've got the nightclub culture, the strip club culture, the alcohol culture, and I really encourage you to reflect on what that culture really does in terms of destroying potential. And I'm not even just talking about the economics. The economic potential does get destroyed. The alcohol causes billions of dollars of economic damage every single year. If you think about how many people had promising careers where it was all ruined because they had one drunken night where they did something they shouldn't have done, or got into a situation they shouldn't have been in, or whatever. And then when you add in what happens with the black community, a lot of black men end up in the morgue or in the penitentiary because of things that happen involving alcohol. And my exposure to this was very early because I had uncles who were alcoholics. And I remember noticing that I didn't have any respect for these guys and other people didn't respect these guys. Their children didn't respect these guys. Nobody respects just some guy, some drunk laid out on the front yard of the house. The children, the 8-year-old walks and says, I got to step over my daddy as I come home from school. Like that's embarrassing. And I remember just thinking, I don't want to function like that as a black man. So again, I'm not judging anybody who drinks, but I will say that vices tend to destroy your economic potential, but it destroys things that money cannot buy. It doesn't just destroy what happens to you financially, it will destroy your family. It also destroys your relationships with the people that you're supposed to lead and guide. And a man has a hard time being an adequate leader if he is a drunk or a drug addict or has too many vices. The four vices, tell this to your sons. Make sure your sons know this. Share this video with them. The four vices that tend to bring a black man down, that keep him from reaching his potential, that can destroy him, tend to be in these four areas. Y'all ready? You ready? Write it down. Sex, the abuse of sex, like not respecting the process enough to say, yeah, I'm a man, I'm going to live my life, but at the same time, I'm going to be discerning about what I do with my body. I'm going to at least think about it and make sure I weigh the risk and the trade-offs. I'm not going to go chasing every skirt that walks by me just because they tell me that that's the culture. That's not really the culture. There should be some sort of self-preservation calculated into this, and some sort of focus also. A man who cannot focus on his goals and is constantly spending all his energy chasing women is not going to reach any goals. He's going to just basically be a pleasure seeker his whole life, and that's not going to amount to much of anything. The second area is drugs. The mass promotion of drugs through hip hop music in particular is one of the most sinister things ever done to the black community. I was on an airplane one time with a federal marshal who worked in the drug enforcement agency, and he said that we as black people, because we were two black men talking, he said we as black people have no idea how dangerous some of these drugs are. He said we don't understand that when your 16-year-old gets hooked on Molly or Percocets and uses that for 2-3 years, they have permanent brain damage. So that permanent brain damage means that even when they say, I was wilding back in the day, I done stopped doing whatever, blah blah blah. Doesn't matter. Your brain's fried. Part of your brain is fried, dude. Like meth and some of this, you ain't coming back. Even some of the weed has gotten terrible now because they're starting to chemically alter the weed. So truth is, like, the hard part is that sometimes you make those decisions and you can't come back from that. So what people don't connect, and I always wonder, like, why don't people connect this? There'll always be this case of where some rapper or something will have a mental health issue or a physical health issue. And people will say, no, it has nothing to do with drugs. He stopped using drugs years ago. And I'm like, you don't think that abusing your mind and your body for several years in a row isn't going to have some long-term effects? Like, you don't think that maybe part of the reason this guy is now bipolar or has these significant brain chemical balance issues could be connected to stuff that he did 5 or 10 years ago? Like you don't see that connection, and people don't. And so anyway, I believe that there is a connection, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it. What else? So you have so sex, drugs. The third area is alcohol. That's what we're talking about today, right? Alcohol, just because it's seen as safe and it's so readily available and pushed heavily in society, it causes untold amounts of destruction. That's all I'm going to dig into. I'm not going to go deeper into this. We've talked about that. And then the fourth would be gambling. The gambling culture is really pushed heavily through sports betting apps now. Gambling tends to affect young men between the ages of, say, 22 and 34. That's what they're aiming for. For some reason, it doesn't hit other people as badly. It can hit them, but 22 to 34, that's when young men ruin their lives by going in way over their heads when it comes to gambling. Because everybody thinks, just like I did when I was a kid, we all think we're smart enough to predict football and basketball games. And next thing you know, you're in debt and they can't climb out of that debt. And then next thing you know, some guy's taking his, he's taking his life because he feels like a burden on his family because he makes 40,000 a year, but he's $180,000 in gambling debt. And that's a scary, horrible place to be. And I think it's important to offer an adequate warning, get help if you can. Most therapists I know pretty much say that their offices are being filled with people that have these forms of addictions. So just kind of have keep that in mind. Now, with that said, we wouldn't just talk about men. Also, when you talk about these vices affecting women, well, a lot of mistakes get made by women when it comes to alcohol. And so going back to this judge, it's unfortunate, but it seems to me, I'm wondering again, I'm speculating here, I could be wrong, that her engagement in specific activities, I went to the club and I went to drink just like everybody else does, has now significantly undermined her professional credibility as a judge. Now her ability to make money, her ability to be successful, her ability to have status in the community has been significantly impacted to the point where she's got to go on some kind of apology tour, hoping that it works out and hoping that things get better. And one of the things I will just tell you is, again, when I saw this story, I remember thinking, thank God that I had a father who drank a lot of alcohol, who used heroin. Both of my fathers were drug addicts. I don't know if I'm sure I've mentioned that story to you. Both of my fathers were drug addicts. One of my fathers, I literally could write a story, what it's called, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I could almost do a story like that, like a similar to a Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because I had one father that my biological who was on drugs, who never got off the drugs, who spent time in prison, who died to some extent in a basket of shame. I had no connection to him. I did not have any respect for him. I never saw him do anything that was significant in my life, right? Whereas the other guy, he cleaned himself off. He got rid of the drugs. He made certain choices, and he became a man that I truly admire. I want to speak at his funeral. I have great things to say about him. And so long story short, I think it's like when you're really talking about just culture and training and all that, you can learn a lot from people who made mistakes. You can learn a lot from elders who say, look, don't do what I did. And I learned a lot from my father who made those mistakes, who said, don't mess with alcohol because it'll only cause you problems. And he might have literally been holding a beer in his hand while he said that to me. I kid you not. In fact, he even jokes. He says, "Yeah, I let you taste my beer when you were 4 because I knew you would think it was nasty, and then you would associate nastiness with alcohol." Now, of course, it could have went the other direction. Maybe I could have loved it so much that I'd be drinking to this. I don't know, but still, at the same time, there was something there, and I thank my father for that because that saved me not just as a man, but also economically speaking. I might make mistakes. I might do something stupid one day. I may end up in goofy situations. When you're public on the internet, there's always stupid stuff, controversies, all that. Fine. But one thing I can say pretty clearly is that whatever stupid thing I ever do in my life, it typically won't relate to drugs or alcohol because I was pretty much warned about that very, very early in the process, and it saved me a lot of trouble, a lot of problems. I had friends that did jail time because of things they did while they were high or while they were drunk. Friends that dropped out of college over things they did while they were high or while they were drunk. Friends that have to deal with the curse and the addiction. And then you talk about just the economic expense of having to feed an addiction, right? Addictions are very costly financially. And so if you want to be conscious about who you are and the man you want to be or the woman you want to be, I encourage you to and this is your financial consciousness lesson, be conscious of what your habits or even your addictions are going to be. If you're going to form a habit, a strong habit, or maybe even an addiction, get addicted to like exercise. Like running releases endorphins and it makes you feel good and it gives you a high, just like they call it the runner's high. Get addicted to that. Or maybe you can get addicted to working really hard and get addicted to your dreams. Get addicted to building wealth. That's a cool addiction to have. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you should worship money, but at least it's something that the more you do it, the better you're going to be. And so find things that you are want to be. So be very conscious about the things that you use as your coping mechanisms. I hang out with therapists and stuff, so I kind of learn like the source of addictions, like where it kind of comes from and why addiction is a big economic liability in the Black community. It's a big economic liability in the Black community because a lot of people need their addictions to deal with the pain of undiagnosed, untreated trauma. When you have undiagnosed, untreated trauma from your childhood, horrible things that happen to you, lots of pain that you're feeling every day, stress from the racism of going to work every day with a boss that hates black people, or whatever it is that you're dealing with, well, a lot of addictions are just coping mechanisms. And so you have various addictions. It might be alcohol, it might be drugs, it might be sex. Like people don't talk a lot about the sex addictions, but I think that's a big deal amongst men and women because they just say, "Oh, it's a healthy sex life, and it makes me feel good." But you out here sleeping with Tom, Dick, and Harry, and every single person that walks by because you're chasing the orgasm or whatever, because that gives you that temporary reprieve from whatever pain, stress, or discomfort that you're feeling. So everybody has coping mechanisms, and I think that one thing to do in terms of consciousness or success is to be very conscious of which coping mechanisms you embrace, or conscious of when you kind of gone too far. Do you understand? So again, this is not me judging anybody that drinks. You can drink as much as you want. I'm not gonna make fun of you or anything like that. I'm not judging this judge. I wish her the very best, but I do think that I can tell you when I saw this kind of go down, I said, "Gosh, this really sucks that she might be losing a lot over nothing." Right? Like she could have lost her career because she stood up for social justice or did something important for black people or whatever, right? Chose to convict a crime boss who was killing people, but instead she lost it because she went to the club and got drunk and acted a damn fool. I just personally think that's kind of a sad way to lose your professional credibility. If you're gonna go out, at least go out with a bang. Like really, and again, I'm not even again, I can't make too much fun of her. I mean, I was blackballed pretty much from academia when I became Mr. Big, Loud, pro-black, and all that stuff. There ain't no white people gonna hire me after that. And I was trained by the best in the world. I mean, they can't say it's because I wasn't qualified. I was trained by some of the top people on the planet. Do you understand? Most of my dissertation committee members went to the University of Chicago and were which is considered to be the top, if not top two or top three, financial institutions on the planet. So I got trained by the best, but so it wasn't qualifications that led them to say, "Oh, we're not interested in hiring this guy." No, it was me being the pro-black guy, the troublemaker. And it's okay. I am a troublemaker. I am. If you white and you're trying to hire me, don't try. Don't call me. Don't even try because you're gonna get something you ain't ready for, and I understand. I'm gonna hurt your feelings. So just know this. I get it. I completely get it. But at least when it happened, and there was a whole history there. Like when I was at Syracuse, it was a big fight, big like back and forth that I had with the leadership of the institution. I said, you're not judging me because you're a bunch of racists, and I'm gonna say it because I have nothing to lose at this point. So I'm literally your worst fucking nightmare, excuse my French, because I'm smarter than you. I'm very well known. I have a big voice, and also I ain't scared of you. I don't need you. I'm economically free. You can't deal with a free black man because you used to dealing with slaves. You're used to dealing with people that have to bow to you because they're scared of losing their job or they're scared of losing their professional reputation. I cleansed my spirit of all these things long ago. I let go of these things. I stopped wanting these things so that I could be free when I engage with you. So don't mess with me. You're not going to win this fight. You're not going to be able to get me to shrink back into some little hole because I understand what freedom looks like. And you didn't give me that message. God gave me that message. God told me what freedom. This is what freedom looks like. If you got plenty of money in the bank and you ain't gonna be homeless and you're gonna be okay, that's what free, and you do your best every day and you work hard, then you're gonna be free. And once I saw that, I lost my fear. My fear went away. I had no fear of any of these people. And it became messy. It got real messy. And I don't regret a single piece of it. Because you know what happened, which was really cool, was that the year after I raised hell about the racism at that institution, they hired more black faculty and administrators, if I'm not mistaken, more than they've ever hired in any year in the history of the school. They were going out of their way to respond to what I said. So it was like, okay, great. We're doing some good cop, bad cop. So you go hire the good Negroes so you can shut up the bad Negro. I'll be the bad Negro. I'll take that role. I don't mind doing the sacrifice fly, and I don't need a thank you or any of that stuff. And because I'm moving on to the next thing anyway. So what I would say to you in general is, fearlessness or not being afraid doesn't mean that you never ever feel fear, but it's easier to be fearless if you put yourself in a position where you have enough security, particularly economically, that you don't have anything to be afraid of. A lot of us as Black people go through life in fear because we're scared that somebody's going to mess up our money or not cut that check or take away that job. You understand? So to me, if you want to raise fearless children, you have to put them in a position where fearlessness does not have to equate to stupidity. Because sometimes being fearless can be stupid because you have every reason to be afraid. Like if that man is paying your bills and you want to go cuss him out because he said something that you didn't like, well, that's stupid. I wouldn't do that. I'm not that brave. But if I got 8 streams of income and you're one of them, and I might lose that one stream of income because you did or said something that I found highly inappropriate, and I need to tell you about yourself. Well, then shoot, I'll become the bravest man. I'll come in thumping my chest. I'm the bravest man in the world in that moment. So, but it's not because I'm built different per se. Maybe a little bit. Maybe I've done some of the spiritual work or something, which we can all do. But it's really about putting yourself in a position where you can be brave. You understand? And the way to position yourself for bravery is you have to plan ahead. And planning ahead requires a level of consciousness. And consciousness means that I can see down the line, okay, if I get ready now, then when the battle arrives, I'm going to win that fight. There's a book called The Art of War. Y'all have heard of it? You've heard of The Art of War, right? By Sun Tzu. In The Art of War, one thing that Sun Tzu says that is, I think, incredibly powerful is he said, and I repeated this to my daughter when I explained to her principles of life, is he said that battles are won before they begin. That the day of the battle is just show and tell. The day of the battle is where you're simply showing how prepared you are. You don't win the battle on the day of the fight. You win the battle in the preparation. Do you understand? So if we show up and we're battling with each other and I'm prepared and you're not, I am going to obliterate your ass. You understand? You can't win. You can't break even and you can't get out of the game. So really preparation is the key to success. And this is literally my number one statement I give to the kids. If you was to ask any of the kids in my house, what's the statement Boyce repeats all the time, every other day, they would say, preparation is the key to success. That's it. That comes from The Art of War, Sun Tzu. If you prepare, then you will win the battle. Like gentrification, for example, was an economic battle that we kind of lost. Why did we lose the battle? Well, because we weren't ready. We didn't. When they came and they showed up with big checks to buy the property that we were sitting on, we hadn't spent time preparing by buying that property when it was cheap. Nobody wanted to buy that $8,000 house in the hood. Nobody, what Kenny Gamble in Philadelphia did. Kenny Gamble bought thousands of them in that. And so when they showed up writing the big checks to get that waterfront property or whatever in Philadelphia, Kenny was like, sure, what's your offer? But a lot of us were not prepared for gentrification, but they were. They didn't start talking about gentrifying communities, in 2010. They started talking about it in the 70s and the 80s. They had an intergenerational plan. They had a 10, 20-year plan. So the question is that I ask anybody in here that wants to be successful, and this is what we can end on today, is what is your plan? What is your plan? What is your master plan that's going to get you where you want to be and make you who you want to be? And then also, what are you doing today to implement that plan? That's why we're starting off every day being financially conscious. Every single morning, I'll be right here with you, but every single morning, that's what we're going to do. What is the plan? What are you going to do today to implement that plan? Because time is running out. We are literally 40 minutes older than we were when we started talking this morning. You are 40 minutes older. You're 40 minutes closer to death. That's just the reality. So given that you're 40 minutes older, what are you going to do today that's going to get you to that finish line? Because you can get there, but you got to believe and you got to make a plan and you got to go for it and you got to disconnect from any part of the culture that limits the potential of who you are capable of becoming financially and otherwise. Remember, this is economic consciousness ain't just about economics. It ain't just about money. The economics, in fact, the money, in my view, once you are connected spiritually and you understand where you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be, the money is just a symptom of your growing greatness. The money will just be kind of something that'll just be an effect of the fact that you are executing on the things that you plan to do for yourself. Do you understand? So we're always talking about money. I don't want anybody to ever get confused and think we're doing rah-rah speeches or nothing like that. That's not what this is. This is me talking to you about what it means to show up and come in correct and being the best version of yourself so you can show up and you can start that business. You can make that investment. You can make that move. You can put that family investment club together. You can do those things you've been talking about but haven't gotten around to. So let's go get it done. All right, give me a yes if you agree. Give me a yes if this makes a difference for you. Let me know. Say something. Give me a yes in the chat so I can feel good about. I can feel like I did something good today. All right. So, all right. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate that very much. Tomorrow morning we're gonna meet again, 10 a.m. Eastern for financial consciousness training. This is every single day, 7 days a week. If you want to get a notification via text, get on the text list. You can pull out your phone, text the word morning, MORNING, morning to the number 87948. Text morning to the number 87948. Also, if you live overseas, just go to drboyceelevate.com, drboyceelevate.com. If you can't text the number, just go to Dr. Boyce Elevate and you can sign up there. All right, guys. Well, have a good day. God bless you. And you'll hear from me again soon. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care now. Bye bye.